everyone, this is Peak Entertainment and we are back again, and here now we have another video for you. I'm going to talk about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning once more, and just do some box office reporting on the figures for its opening weekend of release within cinemas. This will cover the 4-day Memorial Weekend from the 23rd till the 26th of March 2025. Now, there may be spoilers throughout for the film itself, so just beware when going to this overall video, and you can check out both my non-spoiler and spoiler reviews of the movie, and I'll leave a link within the description, as well as my coverage of all previous films within the Mission Impossible franchise, and you can also check those out within the channel. So we'll get straight into it then in terms of the opening numbers, and within the US market, Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning debuted at number 2 position with a 3-day total of $64 million and a 4-day total of around $70 million. It came in behind the number 1 position of Lilo and Stitch, the live-action animation remake, which had a massive opening of $164 million over its 3-day weekend and $187 million over its 4-day opening, really shattering and exceeding all expectations. Now, internationally, Mission Impossible gained a very good $127 million for a worldwide tally of around $204 million, again over the 4-day weekend. So what do these numbers mean overall then? Well, I have to say that following the 3-hour excessive runtime and the very mixed reviews overall, I actually think this is a surprisingly very good opening for Mission Impossible, especially when you consider that it went up against Lilo and Stitch also. So all of these factors I think were going against it. I initially queried the decision to make it a 3-hour movie, as well as going up against Lilo and Stitch, but that didn't matter. Lilo and Stitch, to an extent, actually helped bolster the performance of Mission Impossible, as this was counter-programming that very much complemented one another. And what do I mean by that? Well, having the 4-day weekend, with many people having days off as well as their kids, they both had movies that complemented each other demographic. So obviously Lilo and Stitch would appeal to the younger audiences, and then Mission Impossible would provide entertainment for much more adult demographics. And when you have that contrast in terms of movie entertainment, it can actually help one another. It can actually help the two movies competing against one another. It would be a much more different discussion if the two movies were of the same genre, if they were both superhero stories, for example. So whilst this wasn't quite the sensation that we saw within Barbenheimer back in 2023, where both movies really created a very short-term cultural impact in terms of social media especially, this was still a very good example of how movies can work together to get audiences within cinemas on a mass showing. So despite the mixed reviews, Mission Impossible still managed to open very much in the same ballpark as previous franchise entries. Over the 3-day weekend, they do tend to open at around $60 to $70 million, which is why so many movie fans and critics deemed the franchise to be one of the most consistent performing, certainly within the last 20 to 25 years. I think also the fact that Tom Cruise and his cast and director went to extreme lengths to really promote the movie. Of course, when we look at Tom Cruise, we are looking at one of the most iconic movie stars within the industry in general. And one thing Tom Cruise certainly knows what to do is how to promote his movie. We've seen him, certainly for the last month or so, appear all over the world, conducting multiple interviews and sound bites, once more tapping into the perception of an actor wanting to provide entertainment for the fans. And that's something that will always appeal to movie fans in general. Tom Cruise went to great lengths to make sure that there was no focus on anything else in terms of politics or diversity, just to make sure that all attention was primarily on the film itself. In terms of the action and spectacle, as usual, there was heavy focus on all of the stunt work that Tom Cruise provided. A bit too much, in my opinion. I think there's been certainly a distraction from the overall story of these films, which may have proven to its detriment, certainly in the case with Dead Reckoning Part 1, which underperformed, but I think that was a case of being blindsided by the very much unexpected sensation of both Barbie and Oppenheimer. So a box office of over 200 million globally over 3 to 4 days, I think is very good, again when you consider the factors that were working against it. Now, as usual nowadays, it's not enough to just look at the opening grosses. People now will also analyse, perhaps maybe too much, on the overall budgeting costs and marketing. And as we all know, both Mission Impossible Final Reckoning and Dead Reckoning have been amongst the most expensive movies ever made. It's been estimated that the Final Reckoning had a budget close of around $400 million. Now, we do have to give some consideration here that those costs are factored in with the numerous delays due to COVID and also the writer strikes, which will always cause some sort of accumulation every day that the movie is not into production. So we do have to factor that into play when adjusting for these costs. And of course, it's very unlikely due to those that Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning will turn in some sort of profit. It would, in terms of the formula for making a profit, have to gross something of around $1 billion and beyond in order to be profitable, and I just don't think it's going to get anywhere near that. Now, it may, due to this showing, perhaps surpass the previous gross of Dead Reckoning Part 1, which managed to gross of around $565 million. It may even get close to the franchise high, which was Mission Impossible Fallout back in 2018, and that film managed to gross around $785 million. So perhaps maybe not the resounding epic final conclusion that Tom Cruise was hoping for, but if you watch the movie, the door is very much still left open if they want to attempt again another installment. That if that does prove to be the case, I would highly recommend a shorter runtime and a much more smaller scale budget and a much more focused narrative without any callbacks to the previous entries within the franchise. So those are my thoughts and feelings when looking back at the opening box office of Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you have any other further movies, television series, or any other issues within the pop entertainment and culture scene that you'd like to see me cover within the channel, then also let me know in the comments, and I will see if I can provide further commentary for you on that subject matter within the future. Please also hit like the subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more quality content like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you very, very soon.